Quran 11:1 says, "This is a book whose verses give clear instructions explained by a wise, knowledgeable Lord." If different translators describe different ideas, then the meaning of the Quran can't be clear. For example, two translators say, "My cat needs a bath," and "My cat needs to be washed," then that's fine. But if they say, "My cat needs a bath," and "My cat likes to be left alone," then we would wonder why the translators are so confused. At IslamAwakened.com, there are 36 generally accepted translations. We'll use this sample. Turn to Quran 4:34. Here's the first translation at the top of the page. "Men shall take full care of women with the bounties which God has bestowed more abundantly on the former than on the latter, and with what they may spend out of their possessions. And the righteous women are the truly devout ones, who guard the intimacy which God has ordained to be guarded. And for those women whose ill will you have reason to fear, admonish them first, then leave them alone in bed, then beat them. And if thereupon you pay heed, do not seek to harm them. Behold, God is indeed most high great." Anything that is in some kind of bracket has been added by the translator. If it's not in the Arabic, then we'll ignore it because the Arabic Quran is the real Quran. So let's focus on this. What is the third command for dealing with a woman whose ill will you have reason to fear? This translation says beat them. Is the Arabic so clear and decisive though? Let's take a look at some other translations to see. Of the 36 translations, 15 say to beat your wife. That's 42%. That's less than 50, so let's look at the other options. 5 translations say to strike your wife. 2 say to hit your wife. 1 says to spank your wife. 1 says to scourge your wife. 1 says to apply force to your wife. It says a minimum of force, but the word minimum is not in the Arabic text. There are no further instructions. Further, 2 translations say to discipline or chastise your wife. If they were all like this, then the command of the Quran would be clear and decisive about beating your wife. To be clear, there are no further instructions about how to beat your wife. There's nothing in the Arabic about a last resort, or gently, or not in their faces, or even if necessary, or if a toothbrush. It just says beat your wife. However, they don't all agree that you should beat your wife. 7 translations say that you should separate, turn away, go away from them, depart, or withdraw. That's very different. By a strange coincidence, all 7 translations were created in the 21st century. There are 3 options. Number 1, the Quran is not clear and decisive. We don't know whether the original Arabic Quran is trying to command you to beat your wife, or to separate from her, or something else. That's why the translations are so divided. So, the Quran's claim to be clear and decisive is false. Number 2, the Quran is clear and decisive. You should beat your wife if you have any reason to fear her ill will. In that case, other translations show that devout Muslims today are perfectly okay with mistranslating the Quran to make it more acceptable to 21st century audiences. Why should I trust any Muslim translation of the Quran if Muslims are perfectly okay with twisting the meaning? Number 3, the Quran is clear and decisive. You should separate from your wife if you have any reason to fear her ill will, but that creates a problem. If the Quran is clear and decisive, where did almost every translator before the 21st century get the idea that you should beat your wife?
Quran 11:1 states that its verses are perfected and explained, but this doesn't mean every verse will be instantly clear to everyone. The Quran is deep and requires context, study, and interpretation. Differences in translation, such as in Quran 4:34, occur because Arabic words often have multiple meanings, and some phrases lack direct equivalents in other languages. Scholars analyze grammar, historical background, and prophetic traditions to interpret verses accurately. While the Quran provides clear guidance, full comprehension often depends on scholarly insight and deeper study. Now, Testify says the translations are different, and this is because English is just overall a hard language to translate too. But since I don't know any Arabic and how the translation works, I will keep it simple. Arabic is a Semitic language, while English is a Germanic language. Arabic words have multiple meanings. Aql, AQL, means intellect, reason, or self-restraint. Also in Arabic, the Quran uses metaphors, wordplay, and rhythmic patterns that are extremely hard to do in English. And the fact that the linguistic beauty of the Quran is so diverse compared to humans, to the point the Quran created a new category of literature called Ijaz al-Quran, Irjaz al-Quran, the inimitability of the Quran. Now let's talk about Testify's argument saying that the interpretation of 4:34 is not clear because of the word daraba. Firstly, disagreement doesn't mean confusion. The Quran being clear doesn't mean humans will always agree on details. We can clearly see that through people like Quranists who rejected hadiths, but all scholars agree on core beliefs tawhid, prayer, fasting, justice, but differ on specific verses. Now, is 4:34 clear? It is clear in its goal, handling marital conflict with justice. Now, if we want to interpret it, there are multiple reasons why it is interpreted as separation by modern scholars. Surah 4:59. O believers, obey Allah and obey the Messenger and those in authority among you. Should you disagree on anything, then refer it to Allah and His Messenger, if you truly believe in Allah in the last day. This is the best and fairest resolution. This verse clearly claims the Prophet Muhammad's interpretations are the best, and there is no recorded evidence of the Prophet ever hit any of his wives. Let's see what the Prophet would do to his wives. Sunan ibn Majah. 1984, Aisha narrates that the Prophet would never hit his wives. So then why would the Quran say to hit our wives? Hint. Because it doesn't, this is why we need hadith and tafsir. Sahih al-Bukhari 5191, it says that the Prophet would instead turn away from his wives, yet again, not hitting them.